Welcome back to another episode of Hidden Treasures in Your Pocket Change, where today we're diving deep into three quarters that might be sitting in your old coin jars or forgotten collections, potentially worth far more than their face value. We're specifically looking at quarters from 1979, 1972, and 1996, years that produced some of the most interesting and valuable modern quarter varieties in recent American numismatic history. Many collectors and even non-collectors who've held on to coins from these eras might be surprised to learn what they actually possess. Let's start our journey with the 1979 Washington Quarter, a coin that represents a fascinating transition period in U.S. minting history. The 1979 quarter emerged during a significant time at the U.S. Mint. This was the period when the mint was transitioning from traditional minting techniques to more modern methods, and this transition created some distinct varieties that collectors now seek eagerly. The Washington Quarter series had been running since 1932, originally created to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, but by 1979, it had become a staple of American commerce. What makes the 1979 special isn't immediately obvious to the casual observer, which is why so many valuable examples have slipped through the cracks over the years. When examining the 1979 quarter, there are two main varieties that collectors should be aware of, particularly from the San Francisco Mint. The 1979 S-Type 1 and Type 2 proof quarters represent a significant die change that occurred during production. The Type 1 features what collectors call a filled S mint mark. The S appears blobby and not well defined. The Type 2, which is considerably rarer and more valuable, has a clear, well-defined S mint mark. This distinction might seem minor, but in the world of numismatics, such small differences can translate to substantial value differences. The Type 2 proof quarter is much scarcer because the mint only used these dies for a limited time before switching back to the original style. In today's market, the 1979 S-Type 2 proof quarter in pristine condition can command impressive prices. While a typical 1979 S-Type 1 proof quarter might only be worth a few dollars over its face value, the Type 2 in perfect PR70 deep cameo condition has fetched over $5,000 at recent auctions. Even in lower grades, the Type 2 consistently brings $50 to $100, which is remarkable for a modern coin. What's particularly interesting is that many of these valuable quarters were purchased by the public in proof sets directly from the mint and have been sitting in collections for decades, with their owners potentially unaware of their significant value. The story behind the creation of these two varieties is equally fascinating. In 1979, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different techniques for applying mint marks to coin dies. The Type 1 filled S was created using a punch that had filled with debris or oil, resulting in the blobby appearance. When mint officials noticed this quality issue, they ordered new punches to be made, resulting in the clearer Type 2 mint mark. However, the new punches didn't last long, as they quickly began wearing down and producing less distinct mint marks again. This brief window of production with the clear mint mark created the scarcity that makes the Type 2 so valuable today. Condition plays a crucial role in determining the value of these quarters. For proof coins like the 1979 S, collectors look for deep cameo contrast between the frosted design elements and mirrored fields. Coins graded PR70, perfect condition, with the deep cameo designation command the highest premiums. Even slight imperfections can significantly reduce the value, with PR69 examples typically selling for about half of what PR70 examples bring. For circulated business strike 1979 quarters, values remain close to face value unless they contain significant errors or are in exceptional condition. However, it's worth noting that finding a business strike 1979 quarter in mint state condition, MS65 or better, is becoming increasingly difficult and can bring $10 to $20 from specialized collectors. What makes the 1979 quarter particularly interesting is that it represents a perfect storm of factors that create collectible value: a transitional period in minting technology, a distinct and identifiable variety, and a mintage that's significant enough to be found but rare enough to be valuable. Many collectors who were active during the late 1970s and early 1980s purchased proof sets containing these coins, not realizing that some would become key dates in the Washington Quarter series. Today, these same collectors, now in their 50s, 60s, or older, may be sitting on a small fortune without even knowing it. The 1979 quarter also has some interesting connections to broader historical context. 1979 was a year of significant change in America. The energy crisis was in full swing, inflation was rampant, and the country was on the cusp of the Reagan Revolution. The quarters produced that year were literally the change in people's pockets as they navigated these challenging economic times. It's somewhat poetic that coins from such a difficult economic period would themselves become valuable financial assets for those who held on to them. For anyone who collected coins during this era or who might have inherited a collection, the 1979 quarter is definitely worth a second look. While most examples are common, finding that rare Type II proof variety could be a significant discovery. The best way to identify these coins is with magnification. A good jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass will help you distinguish between the blobby Type I mint mark and the clear, well-defined Type II. If you think you might have a Type II, having it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC will help authenticate it and potentially maximize its value. The 1979 Washington Quarter teaches us an important lesson in numismatics. Sometimes the most valuable coins aren't the oldest or the most beautiful, but those that represent a brief moment in minting history, a transition, an error, or an experiment that created something unique and scarce. It's a reminder that valuable treasures can sometimes be found in the most ordinary places, even in the pocket change from a pivotal year in American history. Moving from the transitional varieties of 1979, let's turn our attention to a quarter that represents one of the most famous and sought-after mint errors in modern U.S. coinage, the 1972 Washington Quarter. While 1972 might seem like just another year in the long-running Washington Quarter series, it produced a coin that has become legendary among collectors, the elusive 1972 No-S proof quarter. This particular error occurred during a period when the U.S. Mint was still refining its quality control processes, and a simple oversight created a numismatic treasure that today commands staggering prices. The story of the 1972 quarter begins at the San Francisco Mint, which was responsible for producing all proof coinage for collectors that year. Proof coins are specially struck with polished dies on polished planchets, resulting in sharp details and mirror-like fields, intended for collectors who purchased annual proof sets directly from the mint. Each coin struck in San Francisco should bear a distinctive S mint mark, located just below the motto, "In God We Trust," on the obverse. However, in 1972, a small number of proof quarters were struck using dies that had somehow missed the mint mark punching stage. This meant they left the San Francisco Mint completely devoid of any mint mark, creating an instant rarity. Identifying the 1972 No-S proof quarter requires careful examination. The key characteristic is, of course, the complete absence of the S mint mark where it should be. This isn't a case of a weakly struck or filled mint mark, it's simply not there at all. Beyond that, the coin must exhibit the sharp, mirror-like fields and frosted design elements characteristic of a proof coin. Business strike quarters from 1972, struck at Philadelphia and Denver, also lack mint marks, but they don't have the proof finish. The combination of no mint mark and proof surfaces is what makes this coin so special. It's worth noting that counterfeit examples exist, so authentication by a major grading service is essential for any potential find. The market value for the 1972 No-S proof quarter is nothing short of extraordinary. While a regular 1972 S proof quarter in perfect condition might fetch $10 to $15, the No-S variety is in a completely different league. In recent auctions, specimens graded PR70 Deep Cameo by PCGS or NGC have consistently sold for over $30,000. Even in lower proof grades, such as PR65, these coins command prices between $5,000 and $10,000. The record auction price for a top-grade example stands at an incredible $35,250 achieved in 2021. What's truly remarkable is that these coins were originally sold as part of standard proof sets that cost only a few dollars. Many collectors who purchased these sets decades ago, perhaps as a hobby or investment, might be sitting on a small fortune without realizing it. The discovery and recognition of the 1972 No-S proof quarter is a fascinating story in itself. For years after their release, these error coins went largely unnoticed, tucked away in proof sets stored in closets or safety deposit boxes. It wasn't until the mid-1980s that sharp-eyed collectors began realizing something was amiss. The first publicized example surfaced in 1986, causing a sensation in the numismatic community. Initially, the U.S. Mint denied that such an error was possible, insisting that their quality control procedures would have caught any dies missing mint marks. However, as more examples emerged and were authenticated, the Mint eventually acknowledged the error, though they never provided a definitive explanation for how it occurred. Numismatic experts theorized that a small number of proof quarter dies somehow bypassed the mint mark punching station and were put into production, creating this rare and valuable variety. Condition plays an absolutely critical role in determining the value of the 1972 No-S proof quarter. Since these coins were originally sold to collectors in proof sets, most surviving examples are in relatively good condition. However, the difference between grades can mean tens of thousands of dollars. A PR67 Deep Cameo example might sell for around $15,000, while a PR68 could bring $20,000 to $25,000. The ultimate prize is a PR70 Deep Cameo, a coin with absolutely no imperfections, perfect cameo contrast, and pristine surfaces. Such coins are exceptionally rare and command the highest prices. Even minor issues like hairlines from improper handling, light toning, or contact marks can significantly reduce the value. For this reason, finding an example that has been carefully preserved since its original purchase is key to maximizing its worth. What makes the 1972 No-S proof quarter particularly intriguing is the mystery surrounding its exact mintage. While the U.S. Mint has never released official figures, numismatic researchers estimate that only a few hundred examples were produced before the error was discovered and corrected. Some sources suggest the number might be as low as 200 to 300 pieces. This extreme scarcity, combined with the coin's status as a major mint error, has made it one of the most desirable modern U.S. coins. It's also worth noting that this error wasn't limited to quarters. 1972 No-S proof dimes and half dollars also exist, though they are even rarer than the quarter variety. For collectors and non-collectors alike who might have purchased proof sets in the early 1970s, the 1972 quarter is definitely worth a close inspection. Many people who bought these sets as a casual hobby or as a gift for a child might still have them stored away, unaware of the potential treasure inside. The best way to check is with good magnification. Look carefully at the space below, "In God We Trust," on the obverse. If there's no mint mark and the coin has the sharp, mirrored appearance of a proof, you might have something extraordinary. Given the significant value involved, having any potential find professionally authenticated and graded is highly recommended. The 1972 No-S proof quarter serves as a powerful reminder of how human error can sometimes create numismatic magic. In an age of increasing automation and quality control, such errors are becoming increasingly rare. This particular coin represents a perfect storm of factors: a significant mint error on a popular denomination, produced in limited numbers, and preserved in collector sets rather than entering circulation. For those who appreciate the stories behind coins as much as their monetary value, the 1972 No-S quarter offers a compelling narrative of oversight, discovery, and the enduring allure of the unexpected in the world of coin collecting. It's a coin that truly demonstrates how sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize their significance. Now let's explore the 1996 Washington quarter, a coin that represents a fascinating chapter in modern U.S. mint history and a deliberate rarity that many collectors might overlook. While 1979 gave us transitional varieties and 1972 delivered a spectacular error, the 1996 quarter stands out for something entirely different. It was the first circulation strike quarter ever produced at the West Point Mint, bearing the distinctive W mint mark. This wasn't an accident or a transition, It was a calculated decision by the mint that created an instant modern rarity. The story behind the 1996 W quarter begins with the U.S. Mint's efforts in the mid-1990s to commemorate the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. While the Mint produced numerous Olympic-themed commemorative coins, they decided to include a special surprise in that year's standard Mint sets, a quarter struck at the West Point facility. West Point had primarily been used for bullion coins and special commemoratives, but in 1996, for the first time ever, it produced quarters intended for inclusion in the annual Mint sets sold to collectors. These quarters were never meant for general circulation, they were exclusively available to those who purchased the complete 1996 Mint set directly from the U.S. Mint. This limited distribution method immediately set the stage for their future scarcity. Identifying the 1996 W quarter is straightforward once you know where to look. The key feature is the small, crisp W Mint mark located on the obverse, just below the motto, "In God We Trust," and to the right of Washington's ponytail. This is the same position where Philadelphia coins, no mint mark, and Denver coins, D, appear, making the W stand out clearly to those who examine it closely. Beyond the mint mark, the coin itself is a standard Washington quarter design, but it was struck with the same care and attention to detail as other coins in the Mint set. Unlike proof coins, these are business strikes with a standard finish, but they were handled and packaged with collector preservation in mind. The current market value of the 1996 W quarter reflects its intentional scarcity and status as a first-year issue. While a regular 1996 quarter from Philadelphia or Denver is worth only face value in circulated condition, the 1996 W commands significant premiums. Even well-circulated examples, though few exist, as most were preserved, can fetch $15 to $20. In uncirculated condition, values escalate rapidly. A typical MS-63 example might bring $50 to $75, while a gem MS-65 can easily sell for $150 to $200. The real action happens at the highest grades. Specimens graded MS-67 have sold for over $350 at auction, and top-pop MS-68 examples have approached $500. Given that the original Mint set containing this quarter cost only about $8 when new, that represents an extraordinary return on investment for those who held on to them. What makes the 1996 W particularly interesting is the context of its creation. The mid-1990s were a boom time for coin collecting, fueled by the state quarter program that would launch in 1999. The Mint was actively looking for ways to engage collectors and generate excitement about modern coinage. By producing the 1996 W quarter exclusively for Mint sets, they created an instant collectible that rewarded dedicated collectors who purchased the complete set. It was a brilliant marketing move that acknowledged the collector community while also creating a new key date for future generations to seek. The mintage figures tell the story clearly. While Philadelphia and Denver each produced hundreds of millions of quarters in 1996, the West Point facility struck only 1,457,000 quarters, a tiny fraction by comparison. Condition plays a vital role in determining the value of the 1996 W quarter, but unlike many older coins, the majority of surviving examples are in excellent condition. This is because they were carefully preserved in mint sets rather than entering circulation. Most collectors who purchased these sets kept them intact, protecting the coins from wear and environmental damage. As a result, finding a 1996 W in mint state condition isn't particularly difficult. The challenge lies in finding one with exceptional eye appeal and no distracting marks or toning. Coins with full, original luster and no contact marks command the highest premiums. Interestingly, some examples have developed attractive toning over the years, which can add to their appeal and value among certain collectors who appreciate the aesthetic qualities of naturally toned coins. The 1996 W quarter also has an interesting connection to broader numismatic trends. It paved the way for future special mint mark issues, including the 2019 W quarters that marked the first time West Point quarters were released into circulation. Collectors who recognized the significance of the 1996 W early on were well positioned to appreciate these later issues. Additionally, the 1996 W wasn't alone. The Mint also produced 1996 W dimes using the same exclusive distribution method, creating another modern rarity for collectors to pursue. This pattern of using special mint marks on coins sold only in mint sets would become a recurring strategy for the U.S. Mint in subsequent years. For anyone who collected coins during the 1990s or who might have inherited a collection from that era, the 1996 W quarter is definitely worth seeking out. Many casual collectors purchased mint sets during this period as a way to build a collection of uncirculated coins, not realizing they were acquiring something with significant future value. The best place to look is in complete 1996 mint sets. If you have one stored away, open it carefully and examine the quarter for that distinctive W mint mark. Even if you don't have the complete set, individual 1996 W quarters sometimes surface in estate sales or coin shops, often overlooked by dealers who don't specialize in modern varieties. The 1996 W Washington quarter teaches us that rarity isn't always about age or errors. Sometimes it's about deliberate choices made by the mint to create something special for collectors. It represents a perfect intersection of numismatic history, marketing savvy, and collector enthusiasm. In an era when many believed modern coins would never achieve significant value, the 1996 W proved that thoughtful scarcity and collector demand could create new classics. For those who appreciate the stories behind coins as much as their monetary worth, the 1996 W offers a compelling narrative of innovation and recognition of the collector community by the U.S. Mint. It's a reminder that sometimes the most valuable modern coins are those that were intentionally made rare, celebrating the very collectors who would later cherish them.